7, Joe Eagle. Number 9, Ben Simmons. Number 9, Maddie Delavadova. Number 10, Dave Barlow. Number 11, Ryan Brokoff. Number 12, Cameron Bairstow. Number 13, Dave Anderson. 14, Anthony Petrie. And 15, the big Luke Neville. Head coach, Andre Lamanis. Assistants, Luke Longley and Gordon McLeod. Team managers, Jonathan Grady. Team physio, Dave Bilbo. And special coaches, Graham Lee, Adrian Hurley and Michael Downer. Give it up for your Australian Boomers. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem. Singing it for Gerald Walker. As he leads the singing of God to New Zealand, followed by Andrew Peters McLaren. Please be the verse. Oh, you give it up for centre court, Angela Peters-McLaren and Moronga. You may look at him and say he looks familiar because he's related to...
And there we have it. The anthems are sung. We're ready for tip-off here with the Boomers and the Tall Blacks. They're playing for seeding at the FIBA World Cup in Spain. And it's ready to get underway. Let's go and join our commentators, Darren Boyd and Shane Hill.
Thank you very much, Stephanie Branch and Hammer. It's great to be here again. It was great hearing some of those highlights in that Paddy Mills package. That day lit up the multi-purpose venue down there in Melbourne against the Greeks just before the London Olympics. And here we are again on his home stage here in the AIS Arena.
What a feeling. Every time I come back and get the opportunity to be able to watch the Boomers play, brings back such great memories. And you see the new generation of players. I mean, how exciting are they? And
absolutely.
It's good for the public to be able to come out and really appreciate the up and younger guys that we've got coming through.
That's the big thing I feel today, is a sense of fun, a sense of anticipation. That both programs, the Opals before and now the Boomers, are going through a bit of a transition, and it's so exciting to think about the results on the world stage. Medals for the men, or top 4 placings for both the men and the women at the World Uni Games recently, and also the Under-19 Championships as well.
Without doubt, and we say that about a changing of the guard, but you still look at some of the experience that somebody like Dellavedova's got now.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles has been around now for a long time, still only in his mid-20s, and same with Paddy Mills. So, and then we start talking about the teenagers and the kids coming through college. I mean, there's never been more talent in Australian basketball than what we've got right now.
There's the Aussie lineup, and they're starting it up with Mills and Dellavedova in the backcourt. Ingles, Petrie, and Luke Neville. Maybe something of a surprise if the big fella starts ahead of David Anderson.
Well, it would be. I mean, it wouldn't be from form. There must be something going on with Dave Anderson because, you know, he's just a powerhouse and has been around the world for a long, long time with his experience. But Luke Neville's done very well in Australian basketball in the NBL last year, and he gets his opportunity tonight.
He will. I can't wait to watch Matthew Dellavedova. It's impossible. You sort of feel like for the next decade that the names Mills and Dellavedova are just going to be linked. You can't have one without the other, and I hope that's going to be the case in the backcourt for the Boomers at major events. But he's basically risking the next stage of his career, Matty Dellavedova, to play for the Boomers here today in this series, isn't he?
Well, he's a passionate Australian. He really is, and I love watching him play. I love working with him, you know, for my couple of years with the Boomers, and he's one of those guys that plays every single possession like it's his last, and you just don't get too many people that do that, both at the offensive and defensive end. A great, great leader.
We'll get to the New Zealand lineup in just a moment. Here it is, their starters, 4 breakers in that starting lineup. Vakona, Webster, Abercrombie and Pledger, with Kenny, the old man, out. But here's the haka. Tell us about that. Tell us what that is like to experience.
Well, you love it. You respect the tradition and everything that New Zealand comes with. They're fighters, and that whole lot is fantastic. You stand there, locked arm in arms with, you know, with your brothers that you're playing with, and you look at that as intimidation. That intimidation finishes right there as he wipes a little bit of spit right off his nose, because once they get on the court, it's all finished. They need to be able to bring it in the basketball world.
That is magnificent. And Ruben Tarangi, the New Zealander there, just 18 years of age, taking it right at the 17-year-old Ben Simmons, whose old man's up in the stands here. Lucky he's pretty calm back up here, Dave, just watching on. I know Cal Bruton's down here. I think Dave Simmons is around here somewhere, the former Melbourne Tigers legend.
And we've got Danny Morsu in the stands too. Have a look at him, he hasn't changed. Doctor Who.
It's a who's who of Australian basketball here today as Nenad Vucinic addresses his tall black troops for the last time as before they take the court. And look, there's not as much on the line in this series as there was in the Opals versus Tall Ferns game. Both of these sides have qualified for the World Cup next year in Spain, but seeding is on the line and also pride as well. The Kiwis have only beaten us twice, Shane, in these series. Back in 2001, they actually knocked Australia out of the World Championships by defeating us, and then back in 2009 was the last time.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say that I wasn't part of any of those teams, so I just want to get that on record straight away. We always have a lot of locker room fun with any of the guys that were part of it, but you know, today is going to be more about Australia being able to implement the young talent into their lineup, and with a new coaching staff on board and Andre Lamanis, an opportunity to be able to create relationships and systems with these young guys. And you know, and at the same time, you still bring that Aussie pride. You never want to lose any game you're playing.
So the Australians start pretty strong favourites. What are your thoughts as to the winner? How will Australia win, and if so, why?
Well, Australia should win. You know, Australia has more talent than what New Zealand does, and you know, a lot more depth on the bench as well. And you know, I expect New Zealand to put up a really good fight. And if New Zealand are going to stay in the hunt, they have to make it a half-court game. They have to execute. They have to get a shot up every time. They cannot turn the ball over. And if they do, they will be penalised at the other end by the athleticism and the extra talent that Australia has.
They did turn the ball over a lot in game one. It was, well, 13 isn't a great deal, but the Aussies looked after it. Only 6 turnovers, and of those 13 turnovers that New Zealand had, 9 of them were steals, which just goes to show the defensive pressure the Aussies were able to impart.
And it was 18-2 in transition off those steals. So, you know, that's an area that I'm sure New Zealand will concentrate on today.
So it is going to be Luke Neville starting for the Boomers, and he's going to be in the jump against Alex Pledger. And it goes Australia's way. Neville with the extra height on that occasion, 218 centimetres against the 213 centimetre Pledger. As the Boomers go down low first up. Here is Neville. Can't get the roll with the left. Pledger doing well to crash the glass. And now Kenny, the only, Jared Kenny, the only member of this Tall Black starting 5 not to be in the Australian National Basketball League. I must admit, it was quite confusing watching the coverage of the game on Wednesday night and hearing our New Zealand commentators continually refer to the NBL. And I'm like, no, he doesn't play in the NBL.
Then NBL,
Their NBL.
not ours. Of which they've won the last 3 years, by the way.
It's hard to, that's why it's hard to separate, because I just see them as us, because they've dominated, of course, under Andre Lamass's coaching. Pledger misfires. Abercrombie, so athletic.
And he's the key to New Zealand. He had 8 points in game 1. He has to step up. 16 to 20 points tonight if they're going to have a chance of winning this game. Great start for Abercrombie.
Only 8 field goal attempts as well. They're going to need to get him a bit more of the ball.
I think sometimes that comes down to the responsibility of him going to make that happen, as well as we see a good take to the basket with that left-handed floater from Joe Ingles.
The Aussies still unable to get their first points on the board, but look at Mills, picks it off, goes at Abercrombie. No foul, but Mills gets the pair, gets the score going.
And for any young basketballers watching that move from Paddy Mills, he didn't have the height or the athleticism, but he used his body so well to create space against the athletic Abercrombie.
4 steals in the first game to Mills, just reading the passing lanes as well as a one-on-one defence. And he's already got one so far in this match. Here's Petrie, gives it up to Ingles, who thought about it. It's going to be a man free, skip passes on. Neville. There was a mismatch down there, and then they switched, and it was all over the place.
And that's a great decision by Paddy Mills as well. He had 1 assist in game 1. He's a good enough passer to be able to step that up and get his teammates into the game.
Mika Vukona under token pressure, just waltzes through.
And that's what he brings to the table. Mika, an experienced defender, but in transition, as Andre Lamanis must be a bit frustrated seeing somebody that he's worked with for the last 3 championships get a layup.
It's quite a player, Mika Vukona, involved in obviously the last 3 championships, as you said, with the Breakers, but also was part of the South Dragons championship when they won under 4 years ago now.
5
years ago.
But he's just a great role player.
Yeah.
You know, he plays fantastic defense. He crushes the boards. And, you know, he had a great stat line with 5 assists and 8 rebounds, 11 points in game 1.
So 3-point play to Vukona. Dellavedova. So much space.
That is just pretty to watch. Crossover, going back to the middle with a little floater right in the lane. Great move.
6-5, Boomers in front. They took a long time to get into their groove in game 1 against the Tall Blacks. Really scrappy early. New Zealand led by 7 points in the 3rd quarter. Webster misses, Pledger cleans up. Now the Boomers in transition. On that occasion, on Wednesday night, it was Corey Webster who got things going for the Tall Blacks. I don't think he's had a touch here, number 9. He's going to have to do some defending. It was a great pass inside. Vukona blocks the shot. Petrie wanted a goaltend, nothing doing. Here is Webster, gives it up to Kenny. Saw a lane. Sweet finish.
And that's a good move by Kenny, but poor defense by Australia. And there is no way that was goaltending from Petrie. He's going to ask the question, but that was batted out of there.
Ingles guarded by Abercrombie, two of the most athletic players you'd like to see. Here's Mills. The New Zealand defence is scrambling. He's got to go himself, though. It's in and out. Neville had a massive height advantage over Webster. Ingles. Short. Had a magnificent London Olympics, Joe Ingles, but battled away on Wednesday night and short with his first attempt. So too Webster. Aggressive pass from Dellavedova is knocked aside. It's going to be a Boomers ball.
Dave Barlow coming to the lineup. Didn't play on Wednesday night, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes tonight.
Had a back problem, I understand, on Wednesday, which they were wanting to manage. So here he is, Dave Barlow. First touch, number 10. Can't mistake him with the long hair. Slow pass from Anderson. Dellavedova so good at creating his own shot.
Well, he's continued to improve his offensive game. He's not a high-volume shooter, but great play. But he's just so good at being able to hit the open shots, get into the lanes, create for his teammates. And Dellavedova going to the next level.
And I've got to say, I'm watching Dave Barlow. He looks very proppy at mid-court. He seems to be sort of pushing on his back. Shane, I reckon he's not that comfortable at the moment.
No, he certainly doesn't look that comfortable.
He's one of half a dozen London Olympians in this Boomers squad. Dave Anderson's another one. In fact, all 5 out on court for the Aussies at the moment were in London. Dellavedova, Mills, Ingles, Anderson and Barlow. As there's a unsportsmanlike foul, it's on Anderson, number 13. He's kind of smiling about it and not complaining too much. It happened as they were running back in transition. So I wonder if it's a body check or a hold. Let's have a look at number 13. As the rebound goes up, we'll just watch Anderson for Australia, running back left of frame perhaps. We just miss it. So, not sure what's going on. How is the goateed one? Is he an aggressive player? He never seems too flustered out in the court.
No, he's not too flustered. Mr. Suave, GQ, Dave Anderson.
Can he be suave with a goatee?
Well, he would be in Adelaide.
Casey Frank, no goatee, but
that's
seriously,
a lot of hair there.
That is a lot of hair. I wouldn't have thought he'd describe himself as suave.
No, certainly not, but he has the ability to get under the opposition's skin, and I reckon that's exactly what he did with Big Dave on that last occasion. He got himself a couple of free throws.
There's Kayla Francis, and I think behind her might be Mariana Tolo and the Opals. In the foreground, Natalie Hurst. They watch on. They've safely booked their flight to Turkey for next year's World Championships, and congratulations to them. Brilliant performance, comprehensive against New Zealand.
I'm excited to see them too under Brennan Joyce. I think he's going to do a terrific job with those girls, and so many good players coming back into that lineup as well.
Still with 5 players over in America playing the WNBA, so that side can get a lot better than the one we saw out there this afternoon. Comfortably defeat New Zealand 84-66. Here's Mills, wide open.
Yeah, someone lost their job in the rotation right there. You cannot give Paddy Mills an open trifecta like that, because he's going to make that 8 out of 10 times.
Paddy Mills in front of his home fans here in Canberra, 5 points early. We've gone almost 6 minutes in the opening quarter. Tarangi, the man who led the haka. Misfires. There's Jenny Screen there still. Well, I don't know if you saw it, Shane, but Jenny Screen got a knock of heads, and I'm not sure who she's waving to there, but she got a clutch it, and that is a serious egg right on the top of her forehead. She's trying to push it back in. I don't know how much success she's going to have.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah, didn't play any part in the game after half-time.
Darren, Shane, David Barlow's just checked out and he's shaking his head at the physio staff, so I don't know how much more we'll see of him in this match.
Narelle Fletcher has stuck around. Fletch, great to have you here courtside, right at the end of the Boomers bench. And yeah, as we said, Dave Barlow did miss that match on Wednesday night with a back injury. So we'll just keep an eye on him, Fletch, and we'll see.
That I will do since he's standing right in front of me.
He is. What are your thoughts? What's the atmosphere like down there on the Boomers bench, Noel?
Look, it's a really amazing, it's a really electric atmosphere out here. And to me, I don't know about how it looks for you guys out there, but the Boomers certainly look much more up and about than they did on Wednesday evening, both defensively and offensively. They look like they've got greater energy, but they're getting the ball through some sets of hands offensively as well.
1 second on the shot clock, hence the long-range attempt from Ruben Tarangi. And interesting that he's actually his direct opponent right at the moment is Ben Simmons, and those are the two who faced off in the haka a few minutes ago as Dave Barlow's apparently waiting for some treatment.
Well, this is great to see Ben Simmons in the lineup in the first quarter, and then we see Cameron Bairstow, and he is just a powerhouse from New Mexico, Brisbane boy, but he's going to have a terrific future.
Led the youngsters, or the emerging Boomers team at the World Uni Games, did Cam Bairstow. He led them to a silver medal over there at the World Uni Games a couple of months ago.
Well, he's had a really big off-season with the amount of basketball that he's played and with his Boomers commitments as well, and a couple of games for New Mexico here in Australia. And Ben Simmons just a little bit late getting back in court with Joe Ingles trying to get a sneaky one.
3 on 2. Oh, lovely touch from Casey Frank.
Well, the Boomers trying to push the tempo a little bit with a little headhunter action with their big man defending up the court, and it hasn't worked on 2 occasions now. They've given up 2 layups, one to Mika Vicona and the other one with Casey Frank.
So they've got to be careful with how they mix it up and stay attentive. I guess the full length of the floor. Nenad Vucinic, he did show that he was pretty keen to mix things up at his defensive end on Wednesday night.
Well, he seems like he's well and truly prepared for what the Boomers are going to throw at them, and good penalties straight away. You think the Boomers would call off the Hounds a little bit after 2 layups.
Simmons, terrible pass. Tarangi picks it off. Inside to Anthony. Travel, was it? Yeah, it wasn't travel. Vaughan Maybury took an eternity to make the call, but the call was there in the end, just a shuffling of the feet. So Abercrombie has a seat, and he's another player in this game today who's looking to find himself a contract over in the States. I know done a bit of work with Phoenix and has been looked at by a few NBA teams over the years. As that's magnificent ball movement. Adam Gibson is the man who cashes the check.
And that's a good cut by Gibson, but an even better pass, a lightning pass from Joe Ingles using that left hand of his.
Frank tries the fadeaway. Feeling confident, Casey Frank, in this series. A couple of 3-point bombs in the first match, and he's yet to miss tonight. He's got 6 points.
Now the Tall Blacks falling back into a zone just to mix up the tempo a little bit.
Ingles off target again. 1 of 4 from the field for Joe Ingles. He was Australia's 2nd leading scorer at the London Olympic Games. Frank. Blocked by Anderson. He thought there was a foul.
Looked like there might have been a little bit of contact, but he was out of control.
Anderson, can't leave him alone either. Doesn't matter how big he is, he can stroke that 3, notwithstanding that he stands 212 centimetres, and he throws this away. Simmons gave up on an Anthony, not the quickest of movers. Got back and Simmons blocked the shot. But he couldn't go second time around.
Good D by the young fella. Needs to be able to follow that up a second time, though.
Did Benny Anthony get lost on the way back from the rugby last night? He looks like he could be just about a front rower for the All Blacks. It's a big fella.
Size about him, as Joe Ingles says finally.
Trying to get the crowd back in at the Boomers. They lead by 3. Under a minute to go until quarter time. The Tall Blacks keeping things close. Here's Tarangi. Aggressive move, wonderful stuff from the player who does his work with the New Zealand Breakers, just 18 years of age.
And that's a terrific pull through. Really quick first step. Way to get to the basket. Bairstow.
Oh, lovely. Simmons. another defensive breakdown, and again, the Boomers' passing game is good enough. They've got half a dozen assists, the Boomers.
Well, again, the spacing was great. Got Gibson out on one side and then a cut behind the head from Ben Simmons. And good vision to be able to see him getting to the basket.
5 seconds here. Got to go up. He lost the clock. He dizzied himself a little bit there, Jared Kenny, and lost the clock. And at quarter time, the Boomers are narrowly in front. They lead by exactly the same margin as they did at quarter time on Wednesday night. It's Joe Ingles having a little bit of a yap to the Tall Blacks as they head to their respective huddles. And the Boomers, well, a narrow lead at quarter time. They lead it 20-17. So just getting that score updated with the last basket to Ben Simmons. But the Boomers have been, well, they've been fair, Shane, but you said that the Tall Blacks wanted to control the tempo, and for the most part, they've done that.
I think they've done a great job. Only shooting 41%, 53 to the Boomers, but they've done a terrific job of being able to get to the line, 3 extra free throws. They've looked after the ball a little bit better today, so to be within striking distance at quarter time, I think the New Zealand camp would be pretty happy.
So we have a look at some of the highlights there. Petrie thought that one was a block shot. The Boomers were able to get a few open shots early, but the Tall Blacks seemed to close down. And as soon as the Boomers looked like they might be able to get a run on, the Tall Blacks should just close things down, take the sting out of the game. And again, we've said they're a pretty well-coached, well-drilled side.
Yeah, they are. And again, they're familiar with each other because they play together on a daily basis. With the Breakers over there in New Zealand. They've found a way to be able to get some easy points, which is important. We spoke about them being able to beat the pressure that Australia put up full court. Got a couple of layups out of that, a couple of drives, and they have to continue to be aggressive. They don't want to just settle for perimeter jump shots, otherwise they'll find themselves with Australia running it down their throat at the other end.
So would you be making any adjustments if you're coaching either side?
Well, I like the fact for New Zealand being able to mix up their defences. I think they have to be able to continue to look at some zone at stages, try and keep the tempo their way. And I think if they do that, they'll give themselves a chance. But they're going to be a little bit outsized all the way across the court. And I think that more they do start mixing up their defences, it'll certainly help them against a team that hasn't had the same sort of preparation.
And I guess you've got to be careful because you imagine they want to be physical to try and stay on top of the Boomers. They've got to stay out of foul trouble whilst they're doing that.
Well, they do, because they certainly don't have the same depth. So their key players have to be able to stay in the game. They have to keep being aggressive. And again, you know, we need Abercrombie to be able to get into the game if this is going to be a close one. For Australia, they just have to keep the tempo up, keep their spacing right, keep going to their guns, make the right decisions, and good things will happen.
So 20-17 as we start the second quarter here. The Boomers in front. They were victorious in game one. 70-59, 11-point victors. And they led by this same margin. They led by 3 points at quarter time. But the New Zealanders were able to come back and actually take the lead by halftime. So let's see what Nenad Vucinic and his team have in store this afternoon. You're watching this action on ABC Television Sport, international sport at its best. The Australian Opals earlier today defeating the New Zealand Tall Ferns in the women's game, and now it's the Boomers and the Tall Blacks. Darren Boyd, Shane Heal, Narelle Fletcher and Stephanie Brantz with you. As it's an early turnover, and already the Aussies up to 4 turnovers. They only had 6, Shane, it was, in the whole of the first match.
Well, that's Ben Simmons' 3rd turnover, and, you know, it's hard for this young fella coming in. He's got a huge reputation. He's going to play his basketball overseas, there's no doubt about that. And sometimes you can get a little bit impatient. You try and make things happen too quickly rather than let the game come to you. And this is all great experience for him, and no doubt he will be very, very successful.
So here's Kenny, who was, well, he probably had Paddy Mills in his nightmares, I reckon. Jared Kenny, after that game the other night, turned the ball over a handful of times. Bartlett penetrating, tried to find a man on the perimeter, couldn't do it. I think it's going to be a ball from the end.
Another young fella coming into the lineup, Ryan Brokoff, a Victorian kid that just finished his college basketball and just signed a contract in Turkey, in Istanbul. So very, very talented young man, both at the offensive end and defensive end. Very long arms for a three-man.
Shane's talking about number 11, Ryan Brokoff, and turns 23 this week, so another guy in that same age bracket, early 20s, as PJ Anthony found himself wide open on the perimeter and was able to splash that three and bring scores level a minute into this second period.
I'd love to see Dellavedova using more pick and roll in offense. He's world class using a pick and roll, and we saw him at the Olympics last year. He was virtually unstoppable, and not necessarily to score himself, but to bring other people into the game, to create rotations, and ends up in easy baskets for his teammates.
All he needs to do is watch a few of Paddy Mills's Spurs games and watch Tony Parker go to work, and he might learn even more about the pick and roll game.
Well, I think he's as good as anybody. I think he will play in the NBA, Dellavedova, no doubt about that. He's world class.
More on that in just a moment as Webster aggressively pushes down the other end and tried to find Pledger, couldn't do it. But that's what we're alluding to at the start of the broadcast. The situation with Matty Dellavedova is, as soon as he's finished here, he's going on a plane over to Cleveland, where he's tried out for not just the Cavaliers, but also a handful of other, or even more than a handful. I think he's tried out for about 15 NBA teams. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have given him a genuine shot at their roster as another three-point bomb, this time Corey Webster, and he gives New Zealand the lead. But Dellavedova is right in the running for that last spot on the Cavs roster.
Well, my understanding is he's got a partial guaranteed contract. You know, that's
excellent
a big
news.
statement to start with. I mean, when you start getting to veterans camp and you look at the numbers start dwindling as they start with 20 and then they start to make their cuts as they go through, I think he'll be there at the end. I think he's an NBA player. I know a lot of people question different attributes to his game, but I just think his pick and roll offense and his tenacity and his defense, he's a third point guard in a rotation like Cleveland.
So he takes possession of the ball with his side trailing at the moment. Oh, it's a hot pass. Brokoff thought it was for somebody else, but it's over the line. But they're trailing by 3, the Boomers. New Zealand have scored the only 6 points in the opening 2 and a bit minutes of this second term.
And this is sometimes the problems you have for Andre Lamanis, the new coaching staff. There's only 2 players on the court right now that were with the Olympic team last year. So, you know, you're trying to integrate new players, new systems, and it takes a little bit of time. That time, he should have curled to the basket, Ryan Brokoff, and that's exactly what Dellavedova thought was going to happen, but they were on a different wavelength.
And that's exactly why, as we said, another substitution, Bairstow is in and Petrie sits down, but it's exactly why Andre Lamanis took the reins as the coach of the World Uni Games team, because he wanted to be in charge of the emerging Boomers and get them into his system as soon as he possibly could.
And without doubt, if you're going to be the full-time coach, which obviously Basketball Australia have said that's the direction, I think that's the right way to go. He has to be able to implement his strategies, start talking about the leadership and the traits that goes about with being a Boomers player, and you start that from the teenage years.
Either that or he just really wanted a trip to Russia.
You obviously haven't been there for a while.
No, it's obviously, I think I'll go with your explanation. Oh, shot blocked by Neville. 218 centimetres extended by the reach and the jump. Magnificent finish. The flash from Bairstow, but Mills set it up on a platter.
And that's a great pass by Paddy. He's already doubled his assists from Wednesday night's game. He's got 2 now. And again, for Paddy Mills to make the next step, I feel like that's an area that he can be much better at, because he is a good passer. And to be able to use his pick and roll there, they showed. And then as soon as they switched right there, it was a good seal by Bairstow. He led him into the basket. And it's all over.
Australia 22, New Zealand 23. And it's not quite in, they're bouncing around.
Another zone defense from New Zealand.
So Mills is forced to set it up. Neville comes up for the pick. Mills follows up. They get a fresh 24. Let's see Dellavedova go to work.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That started from Dellavedova's pick and roll because they had to rotate. They missed the guy going to the basket, and it's open 3.
Mills has 8 points, 2 of them from beyond the arc. The crowd love it. 25-23, Australia in front of New Zealand, but they come level again. Corey Webster, watch out for this fellow. If he starts heating up, anything's possible.
That is just a tough shot with really good defense.
He's the sort of guy, though, isn't he? As soon as his confidence gets up, he'll take on any challenge.
I expect him to have a big year in the NBL this year, as that was definitely a travel. Tried to slide a 3rd step in there, but not to be.
Mika Vukona looking slightly nonplussed. Not exactly sure why. It was pretty clear.
That's more frustration. He knows why.
So a handful of championships in the Australian National Basketball League for Vukona, the New Zealand captain. And who knows, maybe more to come. 31 years of age. Gibson splashes a triple.
Another assist by Paddy Mills. Read the defense well, and Adam Gibson for 3.
And Nenad Vucinic wants to talk about it. The Boomers lead the New Zealand Tall Blacks 28-25. We're almost halfway through the second quarter. As Andre Lamanis has a chat to Gordy McLeod, one of his assistants. We're going to wait for him to come into this Boomers huddle, and we're going to have a listen to him.
So, for me right now, offensively, it's gone to on ball for first play, and then we shoot it, and that's it, all right, in the first 6 seconds. That one was a great example. Just a bit of secondary, good hard cuts. We get fucking wide open as a result of that, all right? So pace is where we go. It's in the first 6 seconds. If you get a layup, then we go. But otherwise, run some stuff. You got flow, you got secondary, good movement, man-to-man or zone, I don't care. All right, it breaks down if we keep moving it and then go ahead and get our first play.
Defensive rules. They don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. Okay. Defensively, good job with the pressure. Keep sitting down, make them shoot contested shots over a hand over the course of a game. This one, give me a goal. All right, give me a goal. You 2 guys in the front line of the goal. Right, you 2 guys in the back line. And it's back to man-to-man. It's back to a pass.
Up and easy over the top.
1, 2, 3.
Magnificent to be able to get that access, getting into the huddles. Unfortunately, we occasionally get the odd magic word dropped in. We apologise for that, but Andre Lamanis, always in control. I love him. He's always got a smile on his face. He can't always be happy, Shane.
Yeah, no doubt he will give them a spray at certain stages, but he's got a lot of poise. He's an experienced coach now, a lot of success. Come up, he's done his time, and, you know, the last 4 years as an assistant coach has put him in good stead. I think he's going to do a good job with the Australian Boomers.
They extend the defence here to restart play. What did you make of his message there?
Well, I think it was a good one. I mean, he wants them to be aggressive early if they can be, but if not, then don't just spray something up in the first 6 seconds. Get it through hands, and then generally you're going to get a better shot at the end of some sort of system that he's got in place.
It was something that he really spoke about after Wednesday's game. He's really disappointed with the first half, but the second half he was so much happy with the poise that they showed and that ability to use their offense to get what they wanted. 2 seconds of the shot clock. It's going to be a New Zealand ball. Tom Abercrombie watching that one fall out of, spill out of court. Just the 3 shots. He had an attempt close to the rack at that last possession. They still need to get him involved more, the New Zealanders.
Oh, I think he's going to take some responsibility himself, though. He has to be aggressive. You're not always going to get open shots against somebody like Joe Ingles, so you have to make things happen, and he has to learn to be able to take that responsibility with somebody like Kirk Penny out of the lineup.
Webster heating up. Corey Webster
just
can
like that.
Explode.
Well, you know, he created that himself.
Yep.
And he is a very, very good scorer when he gets going. You see, he believes every shot that he's going to take is going to go in.
You wouldn't know what that's like.
Know nothing about it.
Webster's got 7 points. Mills misses there. He's got 8 to lead all scorers.
So where the Boomers have to be careful, the message that Andre Lamanis sent them in the last time out, he said he wanted to be able to get ball movement and make better decisions. At the same time, you still have to be able to run your offense to be able to score. At the end of the shot clock, they had nothing and they had to spray something up with 2 seconds to go. And it's a happy medium as we see Gibson with a good cut to the basket and an easy one.
Just a horrible breakdown again from the Tall Blacks. They'll be disappointed with that. 30-27.
coaching staff will be exceptionally disappointed, Darren, because that was their big message in the timeout. It was all about the defence switching. The actions of their coach, Nenad, was all about them just standing still. So certainly defence was a big focus.
Jared Kenny giving them a hand at the other end. He hits his first three-point attempt for the match, brings scores level again. 3.5 minutes remaining in the second.
He shot that like he's meant to shoot it.
Yeah.
That was with confidence.
Petrie. Canberra favourite is Anthony Petrie.
That's not a good shot by Petrie. He had Paddy Mills that came off a down pick on the weak side. Really needed to be able to get Paddy another one at the top.
They missed the go-ahead basket, does Abercrombie. He's upset with himself. And I think we've got another timeout being called, this time by the Boomers. Andre Lamanis wants to chat about things. Scores are level, 30 points apiece. 3 minutes 23 remaining in the second term. Anybody's game as these sides chase a preeminent seeding at the World Cup. To the victor will go the spoils.
We just got Anderson. So you're going into double.
Listen to Ned Vucinic, the New Zealand coach.
Right. But when he gets the ball here, all right, and Mecca and BJ double, make sure if you're marking the passer, do what Corey did. Step here, okay? Just encourage this pass back. If he starts going this way, you got to be hustling. Okay, you got to be hustling. And split the weak side because they got players like this. Right? Their store will be here. So you're coming from the baseline in here, right? And from the top, you split the difference. Okay, because on the skip, but he's not good at throwing the skip pass. It'll go here, and JK, you make sure you get over like you did. Right? Hey, offensively. Let's run them open now, okay? Really quick, okay? Really fast. Let's go.
Well, the entire timeout was spoken about their rotations when they're doubling the post from Australia. So obviously they don't believe they can defend the Australians inside. The problem with that is that now when you're slow on a rotation, it leaves guys like Joe Ingles and Paddy Mills open for three-point baskets. And I guess you have to pick your poison when you're playing against a talented outfit like the Boomers.
30 points apiece as the Boomers restart. Narelle Fletcher, were you down there eavesdropping on Andre Lamanis of the Boomers?
I was, and it was all about the offensive end and movement. That was about the message, man or zone, plenty of movement.
And how's Dave Barlow? I see he's sitting back on the bench. Any idea as to his condition as Petrie overcooks that one? They'll get another chance, though. Fresh 24.
There hasn't been any word on it, though. His body language would suggest that we're not going to see a whole lot of him. He keeps shaking his head every now and then. He comes down for another stretch right in front of me. So I would imagine that he probably won't be back out on the floor.
Abercrombie latches onto that pass and is fouled as we have a look at Dave Barlow sitting there watching on with Luke Neville beside him.
And Doc Hurley on the other side, deep in thought.
He is too.
The problem with the Australian offense for me at the moment is they're getting ball movement like Andre is asking for, but they need to be able to slow down and make sure they hit each other for screens. Nobody's getting open and everyone's sliding through and their dribble handoffs, their on-ball screens. They need to play it with a little bit more purpose, try and work for each other, and I think then they will find ways to be able to get each other easy shots.
Tom Abercrombie's been a star in the NBL for the Breakers for the last few years. 26 years of age, athletic specimen, 198 centimetres. He's got the hops of a high jumper, and his team has the lead, 32-30. Anderson, not quite. Another shot very early in the offense from the Boomers. Abercrombie, that's the aggression that Shane Hill wanted to see from him.
And that's a great move, and it is. That's the mindset that he's capable of playing with, but he has to take it on himself.
It's 17-10 New Zealand's way in this quarter. They trail by 3, then are lead by 4. And again, this game following almost the identical script to game 1. Mills, 3 seconds on the shot clock, loses the handle, and it's going to be another turnover. Let's have a look. 7 turnovers. They only had 6 for the whole of game 1, Australia. They've already coughed it up 7 times.
Great defense from Mika Vakona, switching that on ball. You know, and he's 6 inches taller than Paddy Mills, but he had the mobility to be able to slide with him, and Paddy burped it up.
So New Zealand in control of this game. not so much on the scoreboard as just when they are in front, but it's more the tempo. They're getting what they want. They've got to move now. Abercrombie from a long way out. Oh, but Vekona, that's what he's known for, and Gibson gives away a cheapie, slapping at the pill.
And that is exactly what he's known for. He's one of the best in the business at it. It's very, very difficult to block out Mika Vekona because he's relentless when it's going to the boards. But they're doing a good job at the moment. The New Zealanders have kept this tempo their way, and they're playing with belief.
They really are, but it shouldn't come as any surprise. As you said at the outset, they're such a proud sporting nation, and anytime these two nations battle, no matter what the sport, whether it's rugby or netball or obviously basketball, as we see here today, it's a fierce rivalry, and the skipper personifies that.
Not known for his free throw shooting, as you see him step it away from the line. He's going to get an extra one. Said there was a violation there, but I think for Australia right now, only a minute and a half to go, but these last couple of possessions, they're going to try and go to their strengths, and right now their strength is either Paddy Mills or to be able to go inside, and because they are doubling inside, then I think getting Paddy Mills off some screens is going to be the way to go.
So Mika Vekona here, taking his time, he's patient. Because we should say hello to our viewers over in New Zealand tuning into this match, and those that were with us for the earlier game. No glory for him, unfortunately, in the women's match, but the Opals booked their passage to the World Champs. But perhaps the New Zealanders could upset the Boomers. 4 seconds on the shot clock. Ingles, he's hit one. Bairstow had his arm held by Abercrombie, and that's going to be a ball from the end. Is it?
That's an intelligent foul, because that's only their fourth as well.
Not in the bonus.
Because if Abercrombie hadn't have fouled right there, that was going to get thrown straight back that net. Down that net very, very quickly.
And they've been able to stop the Boomers. The Boomers haven't scored for the last 4 minutes. Adam Gibson has a seat. He was the last Boomer to hit the scoreboard. But in that 4 minutes of play, the New Zealanders have been on a 9-0 run. Webster able to just keep his feet and enough balance to stop Mills going around him. They try and get it through hands, the Boomers. Dellavedova's so creative. Called by Nenad Vucinic as the crowd applaud, and Dellavedova, you've got to feel confident of him making most of those, Shane. He gets halves the margin here. Australia 33, New Zealand 36.
And he did a great job using that on ball, kicked it on quick. Good read by Bairstow to get it back to a great three-point shooter in Dellavedova.
Let's hear Nenad Vucinic and his address to his team.
Let's run two sides, okay? Two sides. Pass, in. Let's run it on this side of the court, okay? So when Eve goes in and screens for Mika, all right? He comes off BJ here, all right? Eve, you turn and attack this, okay? At all costs. Mika, all right? For Corey here, all right? A flare screen when Eve gets the ball. A flare screen for Mika here. BJ, you go to the basket, all right? And prove your safety, all right? Look for that.
That's a flare screen for the guard coming off there, right?
All right?
That's the guard coming off there. Here's 1, 2, 3.
Almost impossible to hear above this racket that is being created in the AIS arena. I saw watching on and chiming in with a few instructions, one of New Zealand's greatest ever, Pero Cameron, the big fella who was named to the all tournament, I think, 5, I think they called it, the World Championships, don't they, Shane, back in 2002, which was the last time that the Tall Blacks knocked out Australia, or knocked Australia out of qualification.
Well, and the Tall Blacks finished in the top 4 in that tournament.
Yeah.
Pero was a really, really big part of that. He was a great player.
Just repeating though, this game is not for qualification for the World Cup. Both these teams are already qualified. It's for pride and it's for a seeding at the championship. And the New Zealanders are doing everything they possibly can to get themselves the better seeding with another 3.
And that was a well-diagrammed play out of a timeout. They specifically ran it for that three-point shot.
Corey Webster's the first man in double figures as we get close to halftime. So, Mika Vukona has a seat very close to half-time. We've got 12.5 seconds to go and a timeout. So, Andre Lemanis wants to diagram something up. Hammer, what would you be suspecting?
I reckon he'll run something for Paddy Mills. I think that's the key. That's the strength of the team right now. And probably something off an on-ball screen with Dellavedova with Pat Mills coming off the opposite side, I would suspect.
All right, let's see. Boomers coach in waiting, Shane Hill, alongside me in special comments. Let's see how he goes.
It's our play, all right? So we're just inbounded here. Della, you go ahead and get the ball. All right? I got Fair and I got David Anderson on this side. All right, Paddy, you go ahead and stay stretched. So on about the 6-second mark, Fair, you're running into that. Della, you're coming. So Fair, you come as if you're this way and flip it at the last minute. Della, you're coming off. Be aware they'll switch. Dave Anderson, you're here, and as he starts to come, you come and set that back screen for Joe. So you've got Joe on the rim and then David Anderson stepping out. Okay? You good?
Well, Bear's rolling, right?
Set that screen.
Pop. Otherwise, get in the way we'll do.
Couple of options.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Great options because Joe Ingles going to the basket obviously is a strength, and Dave Anderson with the pick and pop. Don't be surprised if through the rotations that Paddy Mills in the opposite corner also gets a look as well.
That's one of your charges there. I think Ben Madgen watching on.
Ben Madgen, he made the drive with me today. We shared a few coffees on the way up.
Very good. Here we go for the Boomers. 6 seconds to get something going. Dellavedova with the floater, can't get it to go. I think the time clock will expire on New Zealand, and it does. And no, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a replay. This is a different game to the one that we saw on Wednesday night, but it is almost an identical situation. The Boomers led the New Zealand Tall Blacks by 3 at quarter time, but at half-time, the New Zealand side have taken control of this game, courtesy of a second quarter that reached 22 points to 13, and they lead it at the half, 39-33. So we're ready for a start here in the second half, and remembering back, this game is following the same script as what we saw on Wednesday, and the Boomers did turn it on in the third quarter. They scored 32 points and they restricted New Zealand to just 13. So can they do it again, and can they bridge the gap and bring themselves closer? Or will New Zealand maintain the lead at three-quarter time? Both teams back to their starting units from the commencement of proceedings this afternoon here at the AIS Arena. Darren Boyd alongside Shane Hill, Narelle Fletcher and Stephanie Brantz with this special Sunday afternoon of basketball, and that is special from Mills.
Well, that's what happens when both teams are running similar offenses. You can read what each other's doing, and Paddy Mill, the timing was perfect.
A couple of times he's picked off passes, and he's been able to convert on every occasion. Boomers back to within 4. Tough shot for Abercrombie, couldn't get it to go. Dellavedova aggressive to Ingles. Mills is open. Crowd on their feet.
I feel like this has happened before. And if New Zealand aren't careful, they've got to be able to stop this straight away. They get one turnover, one bad shot, and it equates to 5 points for the Boomers at the other end, and now their confidence is up.
Tell you what, Basketball Australia got it right the other day when they put out their press release saying that it was Paddy Mills that was at his devastating best, inspiring the Boomers, and he started the third quarter in the same fashion with back-to-back baskets. Vukona to silence the crowd. Now in transition. Dellavedova aggressive against Webster, looking for the man with the hot hand, but Mills runs a long way from the basket. They get something going now with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Joe Ingles normally likes his left hand. He gets back to it quick as a flash. It took 1 minute 53 and they're in front.
And that's a great move by Joe Ingles. And that was a huge contrast to the way Abercrombie handled his opportunity to get to the basket at the other end. He could have got his shoulder into Joe Ingles at the other end, but he settled for a fadeaway. Great move and great mindset from Joe Ingles at this end.
And also a little bit different to the way Joe Ingles was in the first half, where he was settling for those outside jumpers. And we just heard what Luke Longley said. They want to change their focus.
It's the first time they've been to the free throw line for the entire game.
Yeah.
They've got 4 points in the paint, and then they got an easy basket, a three-point shot from Paddy Mills as we see him pressuring up the court.
So an 8-0 run to start this second half, and the Boomers are back in front. The Tall Blacks would have to feel a little bit shocked. They'd be expecting that. The Boomers have got a talented lineup. They've got to go up here. 2 seconds of the shot clock. Pledge has got no idea, and that's terrible communication.
It's hard for New Zealand to have to blow a timeout right now, but they need it. It's an 8-0 run, and then they've let the shot clock expire without getting a shot up. And you can't do that at this level of basketball.
Just without being aware of it. Corey Webster was furious with his teammates, but they give up another basket. And now they blow that timeout. Shane, it took 2 minutes and 31 seconds. They're disappointed as they head into the break that the Boomers are cock a hoop. They have scored 10 unanswered points and they have converted a 6-point deficit into a 4-point lead. They're looking the goods here at the start of the third. Australia 43, New Zealand 39.
All of a sudden, we go into 4 down option, all right? So Tom, you're going to be dribbling, okay, with your left hand this way, looking for Mecca on this, all right? So can be a screen the screener for Mecca or a stagger, okay? JK get to the corner, all right? Look for that or this, all right? If Mecca gets the ball, not to work, Nick, all right? And Corey, you come up and Mecca's got the ball. Alex, that's the big pick for him, okay, for the weak side skip. Hey, we stop playing defense completely, all right? Those skills of England, which you gotta get there for this part. Let's go.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I reckon his last comment was the most telling. We've stopped playing defense completely.
Well, I think it's not just the defense. I think they have to be able to get their offense going.
Yeah.
Because when they make bad decisions, bad shots, being unaware of the shot clock, turn the ball over, then that just ignites the opportunity for the Boomers to be able to get easy baskets at the other end, and that's exactly what's happened.
Already 2 turnovers for New Zealand in the first couple of minutes of this third quarter as the Boomers extend the defense. Kenny's got all sorts of problems against Mills. He just got it over. It was about a 1/10 of a second before a backcourt violation. Seriously, I really would have been having nightmares as Webster, who had the hot hand, seems to have cooled down over half-time. Mills into Neville. Quick first step, might have had another flush. Couldn't do it. So Ingles slows it. 10 seconds on the shot clock now. Put on the line, it's for 2. That's a rangefinder. He might go better next time.
That's where you got to wipe your hands on your shorts and say that it slipped.
Jared Kenny, 27 years of age, being guarded by the 25-year-old Mills. Just turned 25 a couple of weeks ago, Paddy Mills. Webster, got to get him going. 12 points now for Webster. He leads New Zealand scoring in this match, and he had 14 and was their best offensive weapon as well in the first game, and that snaps a 10-0 run for the Boomers. Settling basket. Here's Mills. Feeling good. And why not?
And that is just such a quick release, but very, very good screen on that occasion from Dellavedova, who was the one who really released Paddy Mills to get open. Good dribble handoff. That's nothing but net.
Andre Lamanis a little bit miffed about, I think, the fact that the Tall Blacks took a while to inbound the ball.
He had a little bit of European in him then when he was shrugging the shoulders and the hands out.
Yeah.
He looked like a Greek coach. As he's massaging the officials.
got to be demonstrative in Europe, don't you?
Yeah.
And I guess if you can say whatever you want if you've got a smile on your face and some very plain body language.
Yeah, otherwise you will find the wrath of the referees very quickly in Europe. It depends whether you're at home or away.
A few of the Aussies playing in Europe and the Middle East as well. Dave Barlow in Poland. Brian Broekhoff, Shane just mentioned before, just signed in Turkey. Of course, Joe Ingles has been in Spain for a long time, but currently in Israel as he flicks a little pass over the top to Mills. He wanted somebody to run alongside him and slam that one home, but he didn't have the appropriate player. Adam Gibson was the only target, and he was saying, not for me, mate. So Mills went himself and missed. The Boomers still hold a 5-point advantage. Heavy contact off the ball. No surprise there with the likes of Vicona and Gibson out there. Kenny misfires there. Good use of the body there from Adam Gibson. What a player, what a veteran he's been. He's only 26 years of age, but he feels like he's been around forever.
And he's been a great role player because he can do this. He's a two-man that can carry the ball at stages, and he's a very good defender. And have a look at that for a pass. Joe Ingles misses the sitter.
He's killed that assist.
He's going to have to wipe his hands again.
Yeah.
I think I'm going home to get my DVDs out and see how many times you wiped your hands on your shorts, Shane.
It hasn't happened. I was just talking about other people.
Mika Vicona thinks he's playing in the NBA. He's travelled a couple of times in a first step. But I think it might even be 3 as Tess Madgen sits alongside family.
Gino, Dad, and Ben Madgen.
And there's Lauren with Mum and Dad. They'd be pretty thrilled, and it's just so great for the Australian basketball community to have Lauren back after a year away from the game with injury.
Yeah, and what a legend she is. And, you know, hopefully the Opals can get Penny Taylor back after a couple of injuries as well at some stage in the future. And what a lineup that'll be.
The golden era of Australian women's basketball still has a few years to go yet, you feel?
Oh, no doubt.
Joe Ingles push off, and he just created enough space, and then he had a look back. I don't know if he was looking at the ref or the bench or what he was doing there. It's his teammates there. I'm not sure quite what he was upset about. He gave a nice old forearm shove to Ruben Tarangi, and I reckon he got away with it. Almost got away with an offensive foul.
He used his body well to be able to create space for himself on that step back. I'm not sure what he was, who he was talking to or whatever. Maybe he was saying, finally, I was able to knock that one down. I think Andre Lamanis is asking the same question.
As Joe Ingles has a rest, and Dave Barlow sitting conspicuously down the end with his gold tracksuit top on, so I suspect that we're not going to see any more of him in this game, which is a shame because I'm sure it would have had high hopes to play and play well in this series. Aaron Baines is around and not taking any part either.
Yeah, well, 2 big outs for the Boomers, no doubt about that. And I'm sure he would want to show the Australian public how much he's improved since he's been over there in Spain over the last number of years.
Mills rips it away from Bartlett, and that's a big foul. Unsportsmanlike. Might get a couple of weeks for that. Hammer, if you did that on the MCG, you'd probably get a couple of weeks.
I'm not saying this would be smart, but if that happened years ago, there would be a lot more talk as we see Paddy Mills be able to just thieve that ball.
Let's have a look. Oh, yeah.
That would not happen because there would be confrontation right now. And there needed to be Australian jerseys over there. Nothing silly, but just to be able to say, hey, that's not acceptable right now against our star point guard.
Was it here that you and Sir Charles had your discussion? Was that in this venue?
No, that was in Utah, in Salt Lake City.
Okay,
but,
right.
You know, you look around and you see guys like Andrew Vlahoff and Mark Bradkey. They're the sort of guys that are the first ones there saying, not to an Aussie.
I can imagine that Hoagie coming along and Mark Bradkey would be an intimidating side. Let's have another look here. As Ruben Tarangi just drops the shoulder. I mean, it's probably not as bad as what I thought in first look at comparing it to an AFL hip and shoulder, but it's not what you do on a basketball court.
I don't think there was a whole lot of malice in it, but at the same time, you're still going to be able to let him know what you think.
Yeah.
Paddy Mills lets him know what he thinks with a trifecta.
has been a storm surge from the Boomers in this third quarter. 20 points to 2, and they're going to go again. It's going to be a Boomers ball. Not in rhythm, not in transition, but... And just watch Paddy Mills. After this one is drained, we may not get it on this angle, but you can still see him there. Just that.
Gotta love it. You've gotta love it.
53-41 as Bairstow goes up strong and Alex Pledger fouls him, and we'll go to the line.
Well, and Paddy's been the difference. He's got 13 points in this quarter alone. You know, he's got 2 steals. They're creating for his teammates. He's been intimidating up the court, and he's really single-handedly turned this game around.
How's the volume down there, Fletch?
It's electric down here. But when you talk about Paddy Mills and you talk about the work that he does with the ball, I'm just in awe of him watching the work he does off the ball, though. Like, the cuts that he makes with so much purpose, he draws so much defensive attention to himself that it opens up so many options on the floor. And you see that New Zealand even fell back into that zone again. But, it's just started to open up inside for them now with him making perimeter shots.
And it's a great call. It's exactly what he does. And that's why he's suited to being able to play the shooting guard position rather than the point guard spot. And, you know, very hard to be able to lock and trail somebody with his athleticism and quickness.
That's what I was going to ask you at halftime, is Dante Exum will get the cheers of the crowd as he enters the game. Paddy Mills has a seat. Yeah, 21 points for Mills, 13 of them in this third quarter. He has turned the game on its head for the second time in as many matches. But Dante Exum, the next big thing, check out this guy, number 4. He's still pretty raw for the Boomers, but 18 years of age. I'm getting so excited, Shane, I can't even speak properly, but he was named in the All-Star 5 at the recent Under-19 World Championship. Led the Emus in scoring as they went all the way to the semi-finals and lost a game to the US and then a game in the bronze medal playoff game narrowly. But Dante Exum is the real deal.
Certainly is. I mean, some of the predictions are talking about him being, in the top 3 in the draft pick.
Yeah.
In the next couple of years. It's just an exceptional talent. And, obviously his dad, Cecil, played in the NBL for a long time.
You would have played with Cecil, the Supercats, wouldn't you?
I played against Cecil.
Okay.
Yeah, he came in after I left Geelong, but he was a terrific player and a great guy. And no doubt he's had a really big influence in Dante's career as well.
A long point guard, Dante Exum. Here he is controlling the ball. Misfires there. Big pick set by Casey Frank. Oh, he's got that range. He hit a couple in the first match, but second-guessed himself there. They've lost a bit of confidence in New Zealand, and it's no surprise because they've been annihilated in this quarter. It's 22-2 in 8 minutes of basketball. Adam Gibson is fouled, and he will go to the line for a couple. And whilst we pause, I'll come back to what I was going to explore with you at half-time, and you've just raised it again there. If Dellavedova and Mills are the 1-2 punch, who's better suited playing what position? You've just said that Paddy Mills is almost more suited as a 2-guard, but he's traditionally played as a 1. How would you rotate those guys?
Well, that was the change that happened last year, and Pat Mills went to the 2 spot. And I think it was a great move because he's naturally a scorer. He wants to be able to get off on down picks, pin downs, get out in transition. He doesn't want to have to be able to create for everybody else. And that's what Dellavedova's perfect role is. He's a thinker. He's a very, very smart guy about being able to bring other people into the game. So I think it's a great combination.
There's a couple of points for Adam Gibson. Just the one, and he takes his tally to 8. Tough work under the basket. Anthony did really well. Cleaned up his own mess. That was sensational stuff from BJ Anthony. We'll check it out again as he overcooked that first effort. As back live, the Boomers missed a shot through Brookhoff, and New Zealand come up with it. Anthony thought about the triple. Petrie kept his feet. Tough shot. Great stuff from Petrie. Tenacious defender. Comes to Exum. He'll look at Anderson inside. Chooses to get the ball moving. It's taking an eternity to get to Gibson. What a great effort from Anderson. Tarangi did really well. Have to go himself. Well done by Gibson. Petrie socketed it away. And which way is it going to go?
He just kicked the ball. And Vaughan Mowbray said, I don't want to know about it. It came off New Zealand.
So there's no doubt that Anthony Petrie booted that ball.
No doubt at all. And there's no doubt that it came off New Zealand as well.
Yeah, there it is. Strange stuff. Anyway, Boomers have it. 56-43, under a minute to go until three-quarter time. They're in control. Anderson to Exxon!
What sort of athleticism from our point guard?
You'll see that on the highlight reels tonight, ladies and gents. Check out your network news services for that. The future. Frank. Buries one.
Well, he's certainly capable of making that shot, Casey Frank. And it's been a very lean quarter for New Zealand. So he thought, why not? I'll let this one rip.
Just 7 points for the Tall Blacks.
This is where Australia want to make sure they get a shot with only 3, 4, 5 seconds to go for the quarter. Limit New Zealand to not being able to get another shot at the basket.
There's only 1 second difference between shot and game clock. So New Zealand, in theory, should get another opportunity. But as Shane Hill said, the Boomers will want it to be brief. Dellavedova directs traffic. Brookhoff is parked in the corner, and that's where the ball goes. He's hit one of these in the series. Make it 2. And that is precisely the way the Australian Boomers deserve to finish a stunning third quarter of basketball here at the AIS Arena. Momentum is all theirs, and the series is theirs for the taking. 28 points to 7 in the term, and they are leading the Tall Blacks 61-46 on ABC television. So this game has been taken by the scrub of the neck by the Boomers. Just checking we'll get the shooting stats precisely for the quarter in a moment, but they annihilated them. They just look so impressive and so smooth in rhythm in every department of the game, Shane, didn't they?
Well, they did, and it started with the defensive end. You have a look at Paddy Mills, got a couple of steals, got a couple of easy baskets, threes on the break. They got to the free throw line. You see Joe Ingles being aggressive. And at every aspect, they just found ways to be able to make each other better. And then the floodgates open for Paddy Mills. And what a venue for him to be able to do it. I mean, he spent time here at the Institute of Sport, grew up in the ACT. And just a great platform to be able to show his talents as he copped one there.
Just a great choice from Basketball Australia to have it here. The two big draw cards. Lauren Jackson on her way back from injury, played all her basketball here as far as a professional goes at the WNBL level, and Paddy Mills as well. It's been great stuff, and they've turned out and they've enjoyed the show as well as Ryan Brookhoff, who is signed of big things to come. 23 years of age this week, as we've said. He's going to Turkey to start his professional career after some time in the States in college. He was good at the World Uni Games, and great experience for him in front of a big home crowd.
Yeah, it certainly is. And that last basket all came from Dellavedova.
Yeah.
He used the on-ball screen. He read the rotations perfectly, and the man that was open was Brookhoff in the corner, and it takes a great point guard to be able to read where they're rotating from, almost Steve Nash-like, to be able to work out where that open man is. You've got to have great vision and poise, and then you've got to be able to execute it, and that's exactly what he does.
The Boomers 9 of 14 in that quarter, which my maths in my head suggests that's somewhere between 60 and 70%. The New Zealanders 3 of 13, so that's down below 25%, plus 4 turnovers against the New Zealanders in that quarter. Just not good enough. And the Boomers punished them 28-7. And thus, they changed that 6-point deficit into a 15-point lead. It's commanding. So the last quarter begins. The Boomers with a 1-0 lead in the series. And the chance to clinch with a sweep. The Tall Blacks have it first. Casey Frank rips through, creates for Tarangi. Just got the shot away and made it.
And he is a great three-point shooter. You have a look at the New Zealand League, their NBL, and he's had some very good numbers this year for a young guy. Big future.
As he starts his career with the Breakers this year, Anderson gets onto the scoreboard.
Well, he's done that against bigger and better people than Casey Frank for his entire career in the NBA and also in the top European leagues. And it's a very easy basket for him as he gives one up against Mika Vukona.
Just tell us, for those of us who, who have followed, I guess, the Australian leagues over many years, but have seen almost none of Dave Anderson apart from the odd NBA splash or an international game. How good is David Anderson?
Well, he's had an exceptional career. I mean, he went there as a 19-year-old with a European passport and played for some of the biggest teams in the world. He's won Euro Cups, Euro Leagues. He's won Russian leagues, Italian leagues. He's just a champion and, one of the most respected of all time in the European competition. And the general public in Australia really wouldn't know a lot about his history.
33 years of age, coming into the twilight of his career. Not that I'm putting him out to pasture just yet. I'm just saying there's probably more of it behind him than there is in front of him. I think that's a reasonable comment as we have a substitution for the Boomers. Brookhoff is to the bench and Ben Simmons is into the game.
Well, I think Andre Lamanis would love the fact that Dave Anderson's still around. He's a veteran of the game, very, very smart operator, but then there's a whole lot of new guys to be able to come in. Guys like AJ Ogilvy, who was injured for this tournament, very talented player, and then Baines and these guys that also will give us depth in that front court.
And with his basket, I should say as well, Dave Anderson, just a minute or so ago, the entire Boomers roster onto the score sheet, apart from the injured Dave Barlow. So the Boomers by 12. Can New Zealand make a game of it in this last quarter? Or will the Boomers' dominance continue? At the moment, they're looking pretty fluent offensively. It's going to be Petrie who will go to the free throw line for a couple.
And that's where the double teaming in the post from New Zealand comes a little bit unstuck, because now when you've got good passes that are taller than the people that are actually doubling, and movement off the ball creates those rotations, it's hard to defend.
Substitution for the Tall Blacks. Jared Kenny has a seat, and I think it was Corey Webster who checked back into the game as Petrie, 30 years of age. And another, we had a couple in the Opals program, Hammer. Kelly Wilson was one, and we've seen a few over the years. Rachel Flanagan in recent years as well. And Kristen Veal, in the twilight of her career, has come back to the Opals. Who have either come back or come to the international team or the national team in later years. And Anthony Petrie is one at 30 years of age, a role player for his whole career, who's just appeared to many almost as if out of nowhere in the Boomers lineup as he fouls Casey Frank on his way to the basket.
Well, I think that's the good thing too. When a new coach comes in, they have fresh ideas and they evaluate people differently. And what Anthony Petrie has done in his role for his teams in the NBL suits what Andre Lamanis is looking for in this particular series. And with a couple of the other guys out, it's a great opportunity for Anthony to be able to get this chance.
Liafa into the game for New Zealand, just 16 years of age. Liafa played 3 minutes in the first game. Watch out for your number 6. You won't. That's a travel, Simmons. But if we do get a close shot of young Liafa, you'll realise he's 16. I don't think he's cut himself shaving, Hammer, ever. He's very, very clean cut look.
A little bit of fluff there.
He's loitering in the backcourt while Corey Webster brings the ball up. Currently being guarded by Paddy Mills on the perimeter. Here is Webster, New Zealand's leading scorer with a dozen. He's caught here. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Mika Vicona. Got to go up here. No communication again. They've coughed it up. Another turnover. The wheels falling off for the Tall Blacks at the moment. They've been really poor since halftime. This man's been stunning. We've come to expect that. Petrie. And there's a foul inside. I think it's going to be on the Tall Blacks. Ruben Tarangi.
He's been in everything tonight.
Right from the haka. Right from the haka. Went a bit of spittle from his mouth, which was, I reckon, how many millimetres do you reckon? About 5 millimetres
much
away from Ben Simmons' nose?
Yeah. Well, it affected Ben Simmons. He hasn't recovered since, I think, the poor young fella.
4 turnovers. Well, I don't want to speak too loud because his father is a big guy. Melbourne Tigers, I reckon Melbourne Tigers championship player.
Yep. No doubt, he was a great player, Dave Simmons.
The famous footage of Andrew almost killing Lindsay when they won that game 3 over in Perth for the first ever championship in '93.
He never wanted a pick from Dave Simmons, there's no doubt about that.
And now his son, the next generation, 17 years of age, number 8, Dave Simmons, athletic. As Mills got a hook and Abercrombie's called for the foul. Well, I'll tell you what, he's sold that one. He's we're gonna review this. Tom Abercrombie is not that happy about it. He's got a wry smile.
I think that's the right call. I think it's the right call. Pat sold it very well. There's no doubt about that, but there's just no need for him to be able to do it. He just needed to be able to turn around and jump over the top of Paddy Mills.
And that's been Abercrombie in this series. It really sums up his series. He hasn't been aggressive. Only 8 field goal attempts in the first game and only 7 so far in this match this afternoon. And he's one of New Zealand's guns, Abercrombie. The big things expected of him, not just in this series, but... and the thing is, we've seen that he's capable of it. He just hasn't quite bought it.
And that's the difference about being able to play with a Kirk Penny and being, you know, the Scottie Pippen versus the Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And he's a great complementary player like that. But without Kirk Penny, can he make that next step up to be the franchise player? And, you know, it's a big ask, but it's one that I think he's capable of with the right mindset.
Boomers lead by 13. And for those who aren't aware, Kirk Penny he's a jet. He is New Zealand's best player. He's played all over the world. He's trialled in the NBA and hasn't quite made it there, but is brilliant player is Petrie. Goes to the rack and another unsportsmanlike foul. This time the youngster, the young Jack Salt, just 17 years of age, is called for the unsportsmanlike. We'll see. Oh yeah, he's just shoved him. That's fair enough. You probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and you're not going to let somebody get a layup, but you don't want to make silly plays at the end of the game that are dangerous when somebody's in the air as well. And you don't blame the youngster from trying to make a stand and make a hard play, but you know, he has to be smarter than that, and he'll learn that as he gets more experience and gets older as well. But again, if I was one of the Aussie players right now, you wouldn't be that happy with that sort of foul at this stage of the game.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because they were sort of jawing at quarter time, weren't they? Joe Ingles was having a go. There were obviously a couple of New Zealanders who were biting back, and since then there's been plenty of physical play, but that I guess that raw aggression, maybe I don't want to, you know, I'm not really sure why it is. It's hard to get a gauge. Maybe because it's not life and death. It's, you know, both these sides know they're going to the World Champion or to the World Cup, as it's now known. But maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. See, even if that was in a scrimmage for nothing, then you know, you're still handling it exactly the same way. There's things that you do and you don't do, and you make a stand and you draw a line in the sand and you say, you know, that's not acceptable right here.
So Petrie with a couple of points. And the Boomers in control. New Zealand have not made a run at all in this last quarter. They've only scored the 5 points. Neville can't win the game of volleyball. Vicona comes up with it all. Webster bobbled it. Lovely pass. Tarangi Can't splash another one. Mika Vicona, he is a beast. You just have to love the way he plays, don't you?
He's almost that good at getting offensive rebounds. You can't block him out with your back to him. You have to face guard him to physically take him off where you've got no chance of getting the offensive rebound yourself, but either is he.
Yeah. Oh, it's just the determination and the leadership that he shows, it never wanes.
No, it's a toughness mentally and physically that he's got, and he's been able to carve out a fantastic career, not just in Australia, but also internationally by being able to do exactly that. These free throws are a worry, though.
Yeah, they're not pretty to watch. So he makes the second, and he puts New Zealand's nose in front in the last quarter battle. It's been a pretty lackluster turn from both sides. The Sting has gone out of this game a little bit, but still plenty to watch for, because the young kids are sitting on the bench still for the Aussies as Bairstow grabs in that pass from Ingles. I reckon we might see a bit more of Dante Exum and Ben Simmons, amongst others, and Paddy Mills are still on the floor with 21 points in his back pocket.
I quietly hope so.
Yeah.
I hope the Boomers push it out a little bit now and we get these youngsters into the game.
Narelle, can you just go up and have a word to Andre Lamanis, please? Narelle Fletcher, who's down beside the Boomers bench.
Absolutely, Darren. Absolutely. I'm sure he wouldn't mind in the slightest.
We'll say Shane sent you.
That'll work.
Yeah. Here's Vicona. Webster gave Mills a bit of a shove and was good enough to get away with it and to finish. He's been a standout, Corey Webster, in both games. 14 points again tonight.
Now, he's a good player. He really improved last year, and I'm sure he's going to take another big step forward in the NBL this year.
Big fella, Luke Neville showing some range.
Well, he's got that touch to be able to make that consistently, and that's why he becomes hard to defend when you've got a guy over 7 foot that can hit the shot from 17 or 18 feet.
218 centimetres, and it's basically a set shot from there. I don't think he gets the feet off the ground. Maybe just up onto the toes for a little bit of balance.
It's overrated when you're 218 centimetres.
Right now.
All right, let's listen to Andre Lamanis.
Stay into the defense and we've got to box out. Right, we gave up 2 offensive rebounds on that plate. Everybody's going to go take up space. Joey, stay with us. Let's go. Okay. Offensively now, it's about ball movement. Okay, so push, no problems. We'll take pace. It's not just walk up, be aware of pressures. Whether they're zone or man now, hit some flash. So we've got a guard here. You know, you've got cutter, flash. You've got hard back cut, turns, take your time. You've got the second cutter, and then if you've got nothing out of that, you've got dribble handoff coming and turn the corners. So again, it's not bad to go opposite. It doesn't matter, Paddy or Joe. It doesn't matter, you know, whichever one of that. So Joe coming off on his left, Paddy coming off on his right. It's all good stuff for us.
Down the D. Hey, get some stuff.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Andre Lamanis keeping things cool. 4.5 minutes to go here in this one. The Aussies have never made the medal rounds. The Aussie men have never made the medal rounds of a World Championship, or a World Cup as it's now known. They finished 5th in 94, was the best ever effort. But of course, in the Olympics, Shane, you guys have been to the medal rounds on 3 occasions. Seoul, Atlanta, and of course in Sydney.
Still having nightmares.
Yeah.
About finishing 4th. I mean, it's bittersweet when you can make the top 4 in the world, but come so close to actually winning the first ever medal.
And of course, the New Zealanders, they have that one over us. Their best ever finish at a World Championship is in the medal rounds, as we talked about before back in 2002. But they haven't qualified for nearly as many as what Australia has.
And we've got the coach here just sitting right next to us, Barry Barnes, our most successful coach, finishing in the top 4 twice at those Olympic Games in 96 and 2000, and also coached us in 1994 at Toronto for the World Championships that you spoke about.
And of course was a Canberra Cannons coach, I reckon, as well in this building, in the Supercats.
And none of winning Spectres for a long time.
What a legend, Barry Barnes.
Oh, great move.
Beautiful. Corey Webster, the confidence is up. It's 56 New Zealand, 70 Australia with 3.5 minutes to go. athletic play from Vicona again, showing exactly what he can do. Well done by Jack Salt. Abercrombie, this could be special. I'm a bit disappointed in Adam Gibson. He could have let us have a highlight there by allowing Tom Abercrombie to stroll in for the breakaway.
Either that or he could have taken his hands out as well and made sure he took it from the baseline.
In the end, a simple regulation layup, under 3 minutes to go in the match.
They're a bit sloppy at the moment, the Boomers. I'd like to see them finish on a high. Interesting that Dave Anderson's coming back into the lineup. And Andre Lamanis really not taking too many risks. But again, you'd love to see a couple of these young guys getting a little bit more experience and showing us what they've got.
Well, the series is now Australia's because it does work on the aggregate of the two matches. And the Aussies won the first match by 11. And with almost this scoreline, it was 70-59. So you can't imagine they're going to pour on 23 points or make that 24 to 0 in the next 2.5 minutes. But he still does want to win this game. And I guess 13 points as it is now, which is the Boomers' lead. 13 points is not inconceivable, but that makes it a little bit more difficult with Australia with a fresh 24. Ingles can't get around the 17-year-old Salt, who's part of the New Zealand Breakers development squad and getting some great education in the ways of international basketball thanks to his coach Nenad Vucinic, who actually injected him into the game in the first quarter, if you don't mind, on Wednesday night.
Isn't that a great sign of trust? And they do have a whole lot of juniors in this team that is going to provide the same sort of experience, obviously, that Australia is trying to do, blooding the next wave of guys to be able to help in those World Championships next year.
And they've got 3 teenagers in their team. New Zealand, Australia with a couple. Joe Ingles was in the best 10 players at the Olympic Games, according to the world-famous ESPN website. Shane, he was named to the ESPN all-second team.
I'd back that up. Yep. He was fantastic at the Olympics. I just thought he was terrific defensively, offensively, passing. He's really come of age, Joe Ingles. And when you play for a powerhouse like Barcelona for the time that he has, you learn a lot of tricks and playing some big games.
Webster can't get it to go. Well done by Salt. Follows up, grabs the offensive rebound, and it'll go to the line. And yes, that's something else as well with Joe Ingles. I mean, we remember him as Australians. You remember him in his early days in the NBL, and you think, yeah, this guy's, you know, he's a good player, and but you coached him there for a while, and you think to yourself, well, he's taking his seat now. He's been around forever, but he's only 25, and listen to the applause for him and for the man he walks off with.
You know, you're right. And Joe Ingles at 25, the things that he's seen when you start as a teenager in the NBL, and, you know, I was a teammate with him for a couple of years and coached him as well. He's just a terrific guy, unbelievable talent. And, you know, he's got another 8 to 10 years left on the Australian team with him, and, you know, I think he's going to continue to blossom. He's just coming into his best years over the next 5.
And he and Paddy Mills, both of them 25 years of age. Sit down. Mills, 21 points and 3 assists. Ingles, 12 points and 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Pretty handy stat line.
Bad day out.
And then Vucinic watches on.
I think more importantly, sorry, just to jump back to Paddy Mills, he had 21 points, but it was when he had them. Australia was down at the half, and it was his 13 points in a short period of time that just changed the whole momentum of the game. It almost put New Zealand into a position where they didn't believe they were going to win because it was flipped around just like it was on Wednesday.
Australia with a 23-2 run in 8 minutes of the third quarter. Here's what Shane Heal's talking about as Adam Gibson has been stellar once again. He's the kind of guy who... he's not spectacular, but you just have to love watching him play. Does everything right. He's up to 11 points, third highest scorer for the Boomers.
And 4 assists.
Yep.
He's played good D. He's always been a great role player for the Boomers.
Abercrombie elevates over a hand and can finish. He's up to 12 points, 76-62. The margin has been pretty stable at around this 14, 15, 16 point mark since 3/4 time. wasn't feeling good, couldn't finish. That's a foul of Petrie. The two hard men then, Petrie and Vicona, go at it. And we're counting down. Only 70 seconds to go in this match, Shane, as Paddy Mills watches on, pretty content with things. Dellavedova and Ingles alongside him. That's the future of Australian basketball. It's the present as well. But tell us what they're going to do over the next 12 months in preparation for Spain. What will Andre Lemanis, we know it's difficult with club commitments right around the globe, but what will the plan be broadly?
Well, from my understanding, this is it now for this year, and they'll go away and earn their dollars and play with their contract overseas and get that experience. But Andre will stay in contact with them all the way through. Those guys will get ready to be able to come back when their overseas commitments are done. And, you know, Andre, no doubt, will use some of the NBL guys and some of the guys that are available a little bit earlier next year to create their games against China. And then when the big dogs come in, you know, it's all business. They have to be able to get ready to try and, you know, either win a medal or make the top four and do something that Australian basketball hasn't done before.
Absolutely, and the Aussies were 7th in London and battled a bit, a similar finish at the World Championships last time around, back in 2010. Here's Petrie. America has been in nemesis no matter where we finish in the pool games. We always seem to strike the Americans pretty early on, either in a quarterfinal or just before that.
The problem is you've got to win big games during the tournament so that you don't play against America. And some of the games that Australia lost last year, even though I thought the team did really well, you know, you just can't drop those games if you really want to be able to make the top four.
Under one possession to go as the shot clock, the game clock counts down. 17 seconds left in the match. Can they finish with a flourish? The kids are on. Exum and Simmons, Gibson, maybe he'll just dribble out time. I think that is what is going to happen here. They're content with a 13-point victory to go with their 11-point victory and a 2-0 series sweep. The Australian Boomers are triumphant over the New Zealand Tall Blacks, and they book a pretty handy seeding, a very important win on the path to the World Championships in Spain next year. Hopefully this now means, Shane Heal, that they will avoid a group of death and perhaps an early season, an early round meeting with the Americans or one of the other big European nations. A great win. Australia 76, New Zealand 63.